Hello, everybody. My name is Ashir Badami, and I'm the specialization leader for the Media Management and Leadership specialization at Northwestern at the Medill School of Journalism. And I'm really excited to tell you more about this unique and exciting specialization that we offer here to all of our Masters of Science in Journalism students. So I wanted to start out by talking a little bit about what the Media Management and Leadership Specialization, or MML specialization as we call it here at Medill, is all about and why it's important. So really, as I said at the top, the MML specialization is unique in that it's one of the few specializations, if not the only specialization at Medill, that isn't focused on reporting and writing. And what it focuses on is helping you develop the leadership skills that are becoming increasingly essential in the news media sector. And these skills include product management, audience development, and business strategy. Why are these important? Well, if you've been paying attention to the news, you know that the news media space has been going through a lot of shifts these days. And today, in addition to challenges in terms of how they make money, things are changing in terms of how we as people are consuming information, which is to say the habits of consumers are evolving rapidly. And so in order to be sustainable, in order to be resilient, media organizations have to start thinking about how they design and deliver information to their audiences in a way that meets their expectations. And what I'm really trying to say is that today, for journalists and people who work in the news media space, we need to think differently. We have to start thinking about how to align lots of different moving parts. The editorial, which is the stories we tell, how we connect with our audiences, how we use technology to create those connections, and how we align all of those things with the business's goals so that we can make the money that we need to keep doing the important work that journalists have to do. And in this day and age, that means we're really asking for a new type of professional and a new leader. And this new leader is somebody who thinks with a service mindset, who understands the importance of good, high-quality journalism, who understands the importance of a free press and a healthy news media space. But more importantly, they're people who also understand how businesses run and who know how to build the teams, organizations, and products needed to meet the challenges of today. And so with that, we come to the fundamental, what I call pillars of the specialization. In order to be this new type of leader, you need to understand 4 different dimensions: content, product, business, and audience. So in addition to learning how to tell good stories, how to be a good reporter, and be excellent at reporting accurately and telling stories that people care about, you also have to learn how to build for a new environment where people consume information on mobile devices and desktops and tablets while they're on their way to work or while they're lounging around in the evening. It's all completely different than the way they used to consume information in the day of the newspaper and when we only had a few channels on TV. So in the specialization, we take a 4-pronged approach. We teach students how to think about people using what's called human-centered design, which is basically a proven process that allows us to focus on people and understanding what it is that they need from their perspective. Then we talk about business model design. Now that you've understood how and what people want, how do you actually construct a business, an organization, in order to fulfill that goal? How do you work across teams to bring that vision to fruition? Then we talk about audience development and analytics. How do we build audiences? How do we cultivate communities of loyal, engaged readers? And how do we actually know that they're loyal and engaged? And finally, we talk a lot about digital media product management. Basically, this is all about how do we build new media products, new news media products for people who aren't used to reading newspapers, for people who may be going to TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram to get their news. How do we build for an audience that is thinking differently about how to consume information? And how do we make sure that we can actually create those solutions in the wake of emerging technology like artificial intelligence and augmented reality? So if at this point you're saying that all sounds great, but like, am I a good fit for this program? Let's talk about that a little bit. The students who really get the most out of the media management and leadership specialization are people who love media. They care about it. It doesn't matter if it's sports media or investigative reporting or entertainment. There is an abiding love for media. But more importantly, they want to be a part of a solution and not a problem. They want to think about how to reinvent media so that it can move forward in a sustainable fashion. And students come from many different backgrounds. They come from journalism backgrounds, from technology roles, from marketing roles, or they just have general business experience, both at the academic and professional, meaning work experience level. One thing I can say about all the students who come through is that in addition to their love of media, they care about stories. But for them, stories aren't just about reporting and writing. It's about integrating narrative into the design of products and into the design of organizations. It's about creating something that people can respond to. And they translate that passion into wanting to build either media businesses or products that are based on strong business fundamentals and that are aligned with where things are going, not where things were. And I say that to say this. If you're really interested in leading change and you care about media and you want to employ technology to achieve those goals, then you're likely a really good candidate for this specialization. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about the curriculum and how the specialization fits into it. So every student takes 4 quarters worth of courses at Medill. And your first quarter is where you take most of your foundational requirements. You'll learn how to tell stories, whether in an interactive format or at the video journalism level. You'll learn about ethics and law and how to be a good reporter through journalism methods. And you'll also get your first taste of the specialization by taking a class with me that's oriented around how to think about creating new, valuable media products for an audience. From there on, through your winter and spring quarter, you'll finish up your requirements as well as start integrating an increasing number of electives into your curriculum. I often encourage my students to take classes in data journalism as well as to get involved with the Night Lab Studio, which I'll talk about a little bit later, as well as to enjoy the Medill Explores, which is an exceptional program that takes you to different parts of the world to get involved with different dimensions of journalism and media. So let's talk about electives, because I just mentioned that as you go through the program, you get to take a few of these. In the past, many of the media management and leadership alumni have taken a broad variety of electives, and these can range anywhere from courses in leadership strategies to learning how to create documentaries, narrative structure, or even just doing more work in data science or audience development. The point is that you'll have the opportunity to select electives that map to your intentions and career plans, and you can work with somebody like me to figure out what those electives are so that you can maximize your time at Medill. I also want to talk a little bit more about a really important component. If you remember when I talked about the 4-pronged approach in the specialization, we really focus a lot of time on product management, which is one of those central pillars of the specialization. And there's a reason for that. Product management is difficult, but in a world that is digital first, always on, it's a really important dimension of how we create value and connect with consumers. And increasingly, most, if not all media, is in a digital format. So with that said, we usually have 2 interlocking classes that we offer in non-consecutive quarters for the specialization. So the Business of Media Innovation class and the Digital Product Management class that most students usually take in the second, third quarter represent 2 of those different dimensions. And the point is that we try to cover a lot of ground, beginning with how do you come up with new ideas and make sure that they're founded in reality and what people really want. And then in digital product management, we would take that idea and think about how do we actually put this through an organization? How do we work with counterparts in engineering, marketing, sales, leadership to take our concept and bring it to reality? How do we manage that process using the best principles and best practices of digital product management borrowed from the technology sector, but applied specifically to the news space? All in all, that takes about 6 months, and it represents about 2 classes worth of material. The nature of the classes tends to change. So we might do Business of Media Innovation and we might do Digital Product Management, but sometimes we change what the classes are. But the point is that no matter what the classes are, we always dedicate about 6 months to this product management experience. And I want to give you a little bit of an insight and view into what that looks like in reality. So in the Business of Media Innovation class, for example, many of my students are asked to identify an unmet need for a very specific community and then build a media product for them. So what you're looking at is an example of what some of my students did a few years ago. They identified that Asian Americans were underrepresented when it came to mental health resources. So what did they do? They actually went and did market research, deep market research, to really make sure that they could make a strong case for why a media product needed to exist in this space. But then they went one step further, and they actually took this to the point where they built out a plan for how they were going to create the content, where it was going to come from, what were the editorial standards, and then they thought about how it would all be integrated into an actual media product. What would that look like? Where would the buttons go? What would the interface look like? How would it actually operate if it were to be built tomorrow? So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and if you were paying attention, you saw that there were only 3 quarters on that sample curriculum because I wanted to talk about the summer quarter separately. I'm going to take that from the top. So if you were paying attention to the sample curriculum, you probably heard me say 4 quarters, but there were only 3 on that slide. That's because I wanted to talk about the summer quarter separately. For the media management and leadership specialization, this is a very unique experience, very different than what you would expect from any other quarter, because it's action-packed and focuses heavily on preparing you to enter the job market. In this quarter, you'll head out to San Francisco for a week-long immersion in the Bay Area, where you'll engage in an intense 1-week class, and you'll also do internships, as well as some extracurricular programming while you're in San Francisco for that week, which includes networking with alumni and local professionals, as well as panels, site visits, and things of that nature so that you can really get steeped in the technology ecosystem of Silicon Valley. So when you're out there in San Francisco, as I mentioned, you'll do a couple of things. You'll do a 1-week class, which I'll talk about shortly, that focuses on how you design interfaces for a media product. It's an amazing class that students rave about. And then while you're there at the tail end of that week, you'll also be involved in other programming that includes speaking, panels, site visits. When you get back to Chicago after that 1 week, what you'll do is start your internships and take other courses. And the internships are another unique feature of this specialization that, again, like I said, prepare you for entering the workforce. Finally, you'll engage in a lot of career planning and mentorship with me, as well as our career services team, to help you prepare for your job search and for your reintegration into the workforce. So about that class in San Francisco. This is one of our best loved classes with one of our most exciting instructors out in San Francisco, Anthony Jakubiak, who is the design director at JPMorgan Chase. And Anthony's 1-week class will take you from knowing nothing about how to design a user interface and creating a user experience to becoming at least fluent in being able to put an idea together and represent it both visually and strategically so you can communicate it to others. It's an awesome class that gets you out in the city of San Francisco to do research and to really find new ideas and then come back into the classroom to work on some of the principles that he's teaching you. In addition, you'll meet people like David Kopp, who was the former CEO of Healthline Media and is representative of some of the executives we can bring into the classroom to talk to you about the media industry today and how to move it forward. They'll share their experiences and wisdom from many, many decades of having worked in the space and put you at the forefront of some ideas in terms of thinking about how to navigate your career, as well as think about how to choose a role that is best suited for you. And finally, we'll do some site visits while we're in San Francisco, and these can span any number of companies across both the tech and media space. We often go to the San Francisco Chronicle, which is a great partner to us, both at the internship level and in terms of just talking to our students. But we also go to places like Google, Salesforce, and Cal Matters, so we can understand how each one of these places operate and how some of the roles we talk about in the specialization are actually functioning in the real world. So let's talk a little bit about the internships. These internships are sourced by us at Medill, and we match you with companies who are looking for students who can help them with specific roles or practice areas. And these can span many different areas like product management, user experience, content design, audience development, social media management. You get to apply and pick an internship that maps to your career goals and to an area that you're interested in pursuing postgraduate. And I'll help you not only find the right match, but also make a decision as to whether you should be taking one role versus another. Point being that this is not something you have to find for yourself. It's something that we set up for you to make sure that you get practical experience that you can take back in the field. And some of the sites we work with include, as I mentioned, the San Francisco Chronicle, as well as some of our other partners like Cal Matters, the Hearst Company, as well as companies from the tech side like Prezi, Smart News, and Quantcast. Okay, so after you've done this program and this specialization, what can you really do with it? Well, the answer is a lot. Our graduates go on to a wide range of roles. If you're interested in the content side of things, you can do reporting in the tech media space, or you can go into more specific roles like digital news production or into content design, content strategy, or content marketing, be it in the media or technology side. Increasingly, a lot of our graduates are going into the product side of the news business, but some of them also go into the technology side, while others are finding their place in either audience or business roles, leading strategic initiatives that help news media organizations build audiences or generate revenue. And just to give you a sense of what that looks like, you can see from this slide and the next one that our students and our graduates end up in a wide variety of roles. One thing I can say, though, is that no matter what role or organization they land, they all get involved with some really challenging and transformational projects, be it at the audience level, as Corinne does at the Foreign Policy magazine, or at the product management level, as both Harriet and Ryan do in their respective organizations, or they end up working in areas, becoming thought leaders in what they do, like Jenny at Google, where she's a product manager, or Lewis doing content design at IBM. And as I said, this is consistent every cohort. Some of the faces you're looking at right now are from our most recent cohorts, and they have all gone on to take on roles, be it in news media or in technology, where they are once again playing a leadership role in terms of moving their organizations or their teams forward. So before I close out, I wanted to talk a little bit about partner programs and opportunities at Northwestern. And the two that I'm going to talk about are very closely linked with the specialization by design. The first one is the Night Lab. The Night Lab is what I like to call a media incubator here at Medill. This is where some of the most groundbreaking work is happening with emerging technology. And the Night Lab studio, which most, if not all of my students take consistently, is an excellent opportunity to get involved with. There you'll work with students from across the university with different backgrounds to apply an emerging technology to the media space in a very particular project. It's a great way to build out your portfolio, but also to get hands-on experience with technology that's at the bleeding edge. Another program I love to talk about and that gives the specialization a great opportunity to practice what it preaches is the Local News Initiative. This initiative is a big part of what Medill does every day to support the local news ecosystem. We have a vibrant local news ecosystem in Chicago and in the state of Illinois, but a lot of those organizations are small and are competing for resources with many others, and they need help. So in addition to being able to learn about the local news ecosystem, you get the opportunity to work with some of these organizations, or at least work with my counterparts in the Local News Initiative to help the local news ecosystem move forward by practicing some of the things that we teach in the specialization, including audience development and media innovation at the product level. So that's all I have to offer you today in terms of the specialization. But if there's more that you want to hear, or if you have very specific questions, I encourage you to reach out to me. My name is Ashir once again, and my email is ashir.badami@northwestern.edu. And please reach out, because I'm happy to talk to you about many more details that we didn't get to cover with the time we had today. But more importantly, I'd love to hear from you and learn more about what you're trying to do with your career and to see if the specialization can play a part in that.